about you. I'd like to know your point of view.
This was about, what do you do about the helpful outsiders who don't understand what's going on? Well, that is the case with my son's girlfriend. She's on her part, because she knows about this channel. She knows about, so I'm like, what's the deal? What's her interest in your dad? And he's like, well, she just wants to get to know him, you know. She wants me to fix the relationship with him. And I'm like, well, she doesn't know anything about him, you know. And he's like, I know she doesn't. I know she. But see, here's the thing. My son knows about him, but he doesn't really know. He doesn't know. He doesn't know like all about narcissistic abuse, and well, at least Dad knows now. At least Dad knows now what he did. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, he says, you know, remember when I did, you know, remember what a jerk I was to you when you were a kid? He says that to me now, like he gets it. I go, okay, Liam, he doesn't get it. If he got it, it would be actions. It wouldn't be words. It wouldn't be some slick, you know, thing he's doing to try and schmooze you. If he got it, there would be actions. You would see actions. If he got it, he would be overwhelmed with remorse about what he'd done. It wouldn't be some little joke he's making about, you know, some way he could be charming. Liam he knows that, but you know, he's like, you know, is it so wrong I don't have a relationship with my dad? I'm like, it's not so wrong at all. It makes perfect sense. Of course you do. Of course you do. And you know that if I thought there was any way that you could have any kind of relationship with him that wasn't going to hurt you, I would be all about it. I would never want to keep you from having something with someone, even if I didn't like them, or, you know, which, you know, really wouldn't even happen. There would, you know, in this case, I know my son has really severe CPTSD, and I know that his healing cannot begin until he starts to break contact with them and get really honest about what happened to his brother, what happened to his childhood, what happened to his life. You know, he had a very, very traumatic childhood. And as long as you just keep brushing over it and try to pretend like, oh, nothing is wrong, meanwhile, I'm depressed, I drink all the time, I'm, you know, not happy, I have really low self-esteem, my brother is gone, you know, I mean, these are like big problems that unless he goes into it and grieves the losses and gets really clear on what happened and who was at fault and who did what to who, you know, it's not going to work for him to go, you know, choose the default, oh, my parents I'm a child of divorce, and, you know, both my parents are sort of fucked up, and, you know, that's not going to work. It's not a regular divorce situation. We all know that, right? We all know that this was not a regular divorce. It wasn't even a regular bad divorce. There was nothing regular about it. You know, narcissists, and he's a diagnosed sociopath, comorbid with narcissistic personality disorder. It is not okay to have a father that has no empathy. You know, having a parent who has no empathy, which means no ability to love you, no ability to put your needs first, no ability to care about your needs at all. They look at you as an appliance. They look at you as something they can use to meet their, you know, to get supply. They want their drug is narcissistic supply, which is basically some way that you can make them feel special. And that means either by praising them or by being upset by them, some power they can have over you. It wasn't like I had ever done anything to anybody. I hadn't done anything to anyone. I was the enemy just because he was ready to scar me. You know, he didn't have any more need for me, therefore there was no need for me to exist anymore. And so he was ready to destroy me and take everything from me. And he succeeded in that. And what he was super frustrated by was that he succeeded in taking everything from me but my 2 kids. And so what he did is he just tried to do what he could to destroy them. He couldn't take them from me. And he succeeded in destroying one of them. And so I don't have any fantasies about that. Liam isn't exactly, you know, next one on the menu. You know, because he would just be like, oh, my job is done here. My work is done. I've taken everything and I have 2 kids and everything's good. You know, and, you know, he really did take 1.5 of my kids, because the Liam that used to be when Noah was still alive is not here anymore. I'm hoping he's going to come back, but I have barely a relationship with Liam as it is. We hardly ever talk. He's very shut down, and it's really super, super sad. and he really needs to get some treatment, and he's just not ready to. I don't know what to do. I'm thinking, okay, well, now he's got this girlfriend who, she's got a very normal family. She's got divorced parents, but they're normal, they're amicable. Saw my channel, and she thought, well, doesn't that make you feel better? Your mom, she just thinks I'm just bad-mouthing his dad. That's what she thinks the channel is about. She doesn't get it, that I'm talking about a personality disorder. I'm talking about someone who is dangerous. Dangerous. And his whole thing is to make it so that they can't see it, so that no one sees it except for the victims. Well, everyone's not a victim. The only people that are victims were the children and the wife, so no one sees it. One of his victims is now gone, the other one has his head in the sand, and the other one is completely exiled. So he's pretty safe, except for I've got this channel over here, but he's pretty safe. So he checks in with Liam every now and then, throws Liam little bones. And see, his relationship with Liam was he didn't hardly have anything to do with Liam when Noah was alive, because Noah was the one that gave him lots of narcissistic supply. Because Noah was hungry for his love. Noah reacted really big to his rejections. Noah, he was just painfully desirous of his love and attention and affection. And Liam he ignored Liam. It was like, I told him it was the equivalent of a cat and a mouse was their dad and Noah, and a cat with a mouse toy was their dad and Liam. And it was like, the cat and the mouse toy is not nearly as fun as the mouse, because the mouse runs around and he squeaks and he squeals and he bleeds and he acts frightened, and the mouse toy just lays there quietly. Not as much feedback, doesn't make as much of a ruckus when you're killing him. And so he'll play with the mouse toy if the mouse isn't around, but the mouse is a lot more fun. So that was basically how he was with kids. Horrifying, absolutely horrifying for a mother to watch. And I'm feeling Liam out sometimes. So every now and then he says something really wise. He's basically using the same jargon as regular kids. Regular kids caught in a divorce. I don't want to be a pawn in your thing, He doesn't see that it's really, truly my protection. And that's painful for me, because I would just never be that, I would never, ever do that. If I didn't think that his dad was super dangerous, I wouldn't interfere at all. And I don't interfere at all, but I am, he'll be just like Noah, totally destroyed before he figures out what's going on. How much more destroyed do we have to be? He's 20 years old, and he's, already sabotaged himself for a long time. So, and he's got tons of anger, tons of sadness that he won't talk about. He just won't go there. And he's, cut off from letting people in, intimacy. It's very, 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 very sad. And I see that he'll have to heal, or he will have to be really miserable. And I believe he will heal. I believe he will. But it's going to be a painful process. He's going to walk through a lot and come to terms with a lot. And he was abused. There was his big abandonment issues, because at one point the kids were told that I was dead. I mean, it's just some really terrible stuff. And he witnessed a lot of abuse, a lot of neglect. And divorce courts got to get to speed on this stuff, because there is if a person has a personality disorder, they should intervene right away, because there's probably no threat bigger than this to kids. They intervene right away if they think someone's an alcoholic or a drug addict. A drug addict or an alcoholic is not nearly as damaging to children as a narcissistic parent is. You can bring up a personality disorder in court and they will do nothing. In fact, they'll probably get mad at you for bringing it up. So it's really twisted and backwards. And psychology is way behind. They are not up to speed on it at all. Involved in it, and it's such a big, huge part of our lives that it's so shocking to me. Now it's so shocking to me when someone doesn't get it at all. In her mind, she met his dad. He came out there, he was charming, he was friendly, he was warm and engaging, and because it is so unbelievable what they're really doing. It is really, truly unbelievable. It is truly unbelievable what he really did. What he really did to me, what he really did to his children. That someone that charming and handsome and sweet and all that could be sitting right there in front of you, and you like him. You like him, and you know what he thinks about you? He thinks you're an idiot. He thinks he doesn't like you at all. He doesn't like anything. He hates you. He hates people. He's using you. He's thinking, good, I got, and the more you like them, the more they think the more they loathe you. That's why they pick on the people that are closest to them. The more devoted to them you are, the worse they will abuse you. And after the divorce, he had them half-time. But for about 1 year, he had them full-time. And just the abuse that stuck with them from just that, even that 1 year, and the time going after that was just, it was just no getting on top of it, especially because I was all alone. I had a narcissistic extended family. So what that meant was that there was just no one that cared about protecting the kids. They all felt good. It felt good when they got together to gossip about me. That was fun to do. And so they had to exclude me, they had to reject me, they had to do all this, and then they had to do it in front of my kids because it felt good to do, and no one would ever step in and go, no, let's not do it in front of the kids. Let's protect these kids. No one was protective of the kids at all. So the kids' life just fell completely apart, and the whole extended family just was a complete place of conflict and chaos for their entire childhoods. They grew up in a war zone. And the thing of it is, no one knew that there was a war except for them. The war was going on in their private lives, and no one else could see it. It was like, and even their dad was really abusive, and usually if he had like a girlfriend around, he'd be better when the people around. But what he would do in front of the family, and then what the family would do, the narcissistic family would do, this would be stuff that they could do that they could get away with doing in front of other people. And no one could see it. It was like there was like a dog whistle. I've used this analogy before, where there's abuse going on and only the abused can hear it. It's like a dog whistle. So the family had this way of scapegoating my kids. My kids were the lower class citizens in the family because they were my kids. So there'd be ways they put down me, and usually the ways they would put down me would be with concern, feigned concern. Oh, we're so concerned about her. That would be their way of doing it. So there'd be this feigned concern going on, and then also ways of putting my kids down subtly. And these are the things my kids would hear, but no one else would hear them. They're completely deniable by everybody, to anybody else. They'd start breaking down, getting bad grades in school, eventually doing drugs, acting out. And it just looks like they're just problem children. Then, of course, then they can blame on me because I'm off, I'm off, not even in the group anymore. And so it's just this, complete and total nightmarish situation. And the worst thing that Liam can do is try and brush it over because now he's got this mainstream girlfriend who doesn't know anything about that, doesn't want to know anything about that. He doesn't want to know anything about it either. He wants to have a happy family and happy childhood. And so just trying to act like he has one because that's what she expects and that's what he wants. Well, I know how that goes. I know how that story ends. And it's not pretty. It doesn't end well because that's exactly what I was trying to do. I came home. I couldn't remember what was wrong with my childhood. I couldn't remember my childhood, but I wanted to reconnect with my parents. I didn't know why we were so detached. So I came back, moved back up from California, tried to get together with them, and immediately knew there was a problem. They immediately acted like they weren't happy I was home. I knew there was something wrong, and instead of my being able to say, "Oh, this is not good. I should go back to California, or I should do something else," I met up with this guy who, love bombed me, and I made up a way that I could tell myself that I could stay near my parents, and I could just not need them for anything because now I have this guy and he'll take care of my emotional needs. And now as long as my parents know that I don't need them for anything, they'll be fine. Because I was telling myself that the reason they're acting that way is because I moved up here and I'm staying at their house, and just all kinds of excuses I would make for them that were just really rejecting and awful, terrible parents. And narcissists should not be parents. Not everybody who has children did it for the right reasons, and the kids pay, and they pay forever. If you have children for not the right reasons, it's a terrible thing that, it creates all kinds of suffering. This girl, it's like I call her and I say, hey, I know you had, your heart was really in the right place. I know that you had good intentions. You know, could you just maybe leave Liam's relationship with his dad to him? Like, you know, don't try and arrange things for his dad so that, you know, make Liam think that you think he should work on his relationship with his dad. That would get your approval to do that, because that's a really complicated relationship. There's a lot of history there, and I've got that channel that, you know, you've seen it, where I talk about that. You know, his dad's got a personality disorder, which really makes it hard for him to empathize with other people. It makes it hard for him to love. And so it's a relationship of inevitable harm, and Liam's got a lifetime of abuse stories to tell, and you know, the best thing really for Liam is just to probably have as little contact with his dad as possible, and try to heal some of the trauma. But trying to act like things are normal and trying to act like things are okay is not the direction to go. And I don't want him to think he has to do that to impress you or to get your approval. You have normal parents that are divorced, but they had a normal divorce, and so it makes sense to you. And I know that that's completely what you thought. And so I'm not blaming you. I'm not mad at you at all. But if you just, you know, Liam said that you kind of arranged this thing, you arranged to have his dad there, and if you could just maybe just, you know, if Liam, I won't interfere with Liam. You know, he's a grown man. He can do what he wants. If he called his dad and invited him, then I wouldn't have said anything. But he said you did it, and it was a surprise to him. And so, can you let Liam be in charge of his relationships with his parents? You know, that basically is that. That's basically it. And, you know, if you would just kind of keep this between us, I'd really appreciate it, because he'll just get really upset if he thinks whatever. Not 2 seconds later do we hang up the phone, and he is blowing up my phone. So that's my sob story. That's what's going on with me today. That was my little deal with you know, normal people not understanding what you're talking about. And you do as you're telling these stories, you do feel like you're nuts. You feel like you are sounding terrible. Because how could this possibly all be true? Especially when it's so many people, as in my case. Somewhat of a comfort, but also not a really accurate viewpoint when we're in this community here, because you all understand how it works. But outsiders will say things, and I'll get comments like, does it make sense to anybody? And actually, I think it's like might be my family or something, but I'll say things like, yeah, like, there's something wrong with everybody in her life. Like, it's not just her. Like, you know, she said her mother, her father, her brother, her sister-in-law, her, you know, friends. It's everybody. But, yeah, we know that it is, because we know that they attract each other. You attracted them. You were attractive to them. You were attracted to them, and you were attractive to them back when you were sicker. And they attract one another. And so narcissists do go in clumps. They do go in groups, and it's not uncommon to have that happen, to where you end up, you basically figure out one day that when it all blows up, that everyone in your life is using you. And that's basically what happened to me. You know, so it came down to the fact that, you know, there was nobody prior to my new husband that was okay. And so it was just really crazy. But yeah, it was true. And it didn't mean that I was the one that had the problem. No, it didn't. And that thinking that kept me in a sick relationship for a really long time, because that was certainly what they would say. And it makes a lot of sense. You know, how can it be all these people? It's got to be me. So for years, decade probably, that was the reason I was in there. That's the reason I stayed. You got to be careful, because mainstream advice that it makes perfect sense for regular people is the very worst advice for you. It's the very worst advice for you. Mainstream advice is almost always across the board wrong for people in narcissistic relationships. You know, in most relationships, you know, yeah, it is best for you to try and make amends with your father, try and get along, try and just gonna have whatever relationship you can have. You know, let bygones be bygones. Yeah, in most cases that is true. But in the case of a narcissistic person who is never going to be happy, doesn't care about your needs, is abusive to you anyway. You know, that's the thing. Like, if I was to go heal things with my parents, I think about it, like, I was really lonely and sad and depressed even when things were supposedly good, you know, because they didn't care about me. Because this thing was always possible. I just didn't know it, you know. And so once you know what they're capable of doing, you know that they don't love you, you know that they don't care about your needs, you know that they're using you, what is there for you there? There's no reason for it. But if you have never been involved with a narcissistic person, and you think people are regular people, you think people are like you are, and that they have good things and bad things, and they're flawed and they're imperfect, but they're basically, they love people, and they have guilt, and you think there's a regular person, then you're going to be completely doing the wrong thing, because they don't care about you. They don't care about your needs. They don't care your children. If you're a child, it makes no difference to them what relationship you have to them. You might as well be the garbage man. No difference. And no amount of trying to people please them is going to make them happy. And when it comes around to the minute, it doesn't matter how okay you are right now, they're still going to discard you, and you're still going to be trash the minute they decide that the minute you disagree with them, or the minute you need something, or the minute you don't verify their false reality, you don't play along with their false story. The minute that happens, it'll go right back to you being garbage, and always being garbage, because they're completely black and white. They can't hold two thoughts at once. It can't be like, oh, we had good times when. No, when you get bad, you were always bad. There was nothing good about you ever. Thanks for being here. I'll talk with you later. Alrighty, bye-bye.